Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. This second beatitude is very tender and very comforting, I think, right off the start. This idea that God comes to us, God meets with us even in our grief, that God is there around us, surrounding us, comforting us even right now. And I think all of us need to hear that at different points in our lives, because all of us mourn and all of us recognize this. And that's beautiful. But I think Jesus is also telling us something here about the divine. That's what this beatitude is really about. All of us have this assumption through all of human history, particularly in Jesus' time, and let's be honest here, even in the world that we live in now, that those who are wealthy, those who are prosperous, those who are happy, those who have a smile on their face all the time, this is who God favors. God is near to them. God is on their side. Their prosperity is an indication of God's blessing in their life. And yet Jesus flips all of that upside down. And he says that blessing comes to those who mourn, those who grieve, those of us who suffer from depression. God is near to us. There is blessing in this because God comes alongside of us. God experiences our world with us. And really, Jesus is telling us something about God here, that God is not on the side of those who are doing well, that God is on the side of all of us, but maybe even first, God is on the side of those who suffer. And our imagination of the divine as one who favors the wealthy, God who favors the prosperous, God who favors the ones that we aspire to be, this is upside down. And that actually we will understand God better by understanding that God draws near to us when we are at our lowest. That when we mourn, when we suffer, when we are sad, this is where God comes near to us and blesses us. That God is closest to us when we feel farthest from God. And this does a lot to upend our assumptions about who God is and what the divine is. It takes all of human history where we have assumed that God is on the side of those who are doing well and flips it upside down. And so if you have felt like you are sad and therefore God is far from you, maybe God has abandoned you, maybe the people around you have begun to assume that everything in your life is going wrong and therefore it must be some reason that you have distanced yourself from God and God has left you to your own. This is not true, Jesus says. God is near to you even when you sometimes struggle to recognize it. And sometimes all that we need to do is be reminded of the divine presence that is around us all the time. And that may begin to shift our perspective of the world, not just our moment right now, but our perspective of exactly who God is and how God shows up in our lives. And so if this is a difficult season for you right now, and maybe you have heard subtly from the people around you that God is distant from you, know that Jesus says that is not true. And maybe even in this moment, God is closer to you than God has ever been before.